Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, the topic of the lectures for this month is the weapon of the believer. What is the weapon of the believer? Ad-du'a. Du'a is the weapon of the believer. And so today, inshallah, we'll discuss just a bit of an introduction to du'a, some virtues of the du'a, how we can enhance it in our lives, what it means, things like that, inshallah. So to begin, the word du'a, of course, Arabic is a very rich language which can't be translated into one English word. The du'a, da'a yad'u, is used throughout the Quran in different ways and contexts. وَدُعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُمْ, call out or bring your witnesses. وَلَا تَدَعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا, don't worship besides Allah. The general gist of du'a is talab, nida, which is to seek, to request, or to call upon, to invoke. And for the purposes of the Sharia, a servant asking his Lord for his help and support, a person showing his neediness to Allah, freeing himself from any power or ability to change, it's a characteristic, a mark of servitude and submissiveness. And Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, asking what is of benefit to the person and asking the removal of what is harming him, of repelling it. And there are two types of du'a. One is the common one that we know of, du'a al-mas'ala. To ask of Allah, بأن يسأل الله تعالى ما ينفعه في الدنيا والآخرة. To ask of Allah what is going to benefit one in the dunya and the akhirah. وَدَفْعُ مَا يَضُرُّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. And to ask to repel that which is harmful to one's dunya and akhirah. This is the dua that we know. We ask of Allah, we seek Allah's help, we ask for what's good, we ask to be repelled from what is evil. And the second type of dua is dua al-ibadah. What is dua al-ibadah? وَالْمُرَادْ بِهِ أَنْ يَكُونَ الْإِنسَانَ عَابِدًا لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى. It's simply the act of worship. بِأَيِّ نَوْعٍ مِنْ أَنْوَاعِ الْعِبَادَاتِ. All acts of worship, be it fasting, praying, be it praising Allah, be it thanking Allah, all of these things, alhamdulillah, subhanallah, this comes under the category of dua al-ibadah. What this means, in essence, and these two categories actually, they are interlinked, intertwined, and they necessitate each other, they cause each other. Meaning, when you ask of Allah, you are worshipping Him. And when you worship Allah, when you thank Allah, when you praise Allah, that's linked to He is the only one that we ask from. So dua can be categorized into these two things. There's a hadith, ad-du'a huwa al-ibadah. Dua is worship. The essence of worship is dua. And what is ibadah? Servitude, submissiveness, hope and fear and love of Allah. Meaning when you make dua, it's not just a statement that you say. It has an element of your heart, element of your speech. It's with emotion. It's with that understanding that Allah is my Rabb. And this is something important for just this topic in general. It's not an academic exercise. It's not something you just learn about. This dua is a otherworldly exercise. It's a spiritual exercise. And the objectives of our talks isn't just to learn, but it's to actually, and the topic of today is direct connection with Allah, to enhance your connection with Allah. That's what we're aiming for. Now, of the virtues of dua, the benefits of dua is, number one, that dua is a sign, a testament of one's iman and of one's tawheed. It's a manifestation of tawheed, the oneness of Allah. In the sense that when you make dua, when you seek Allah's help, what are we doing? We are affirming that I am in need of Allah, that Allah is Rabb, Rububiyyah. Allah is the master, Allah is the sustainer, maintainer, creator. Allah is the one in charge. When we make dua, we are affirming this aspect of tawheed, that Allah is the overall master of the world, Rabbul Alameen. And when we make dua, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, only you we worship and only you we seek help from. When we seek Allah's help, we are affirming that He is the one, the only one deserving of the worship. Uluhiyyah. Allah is Al-Ilah. Allah is the one that is solely deserving of the worship. And when we make dua, and this is a very beneficial and important point, is we ask of Allah through His names and attributes. Asma wa sifat. And this is something we should implement every day, is to learn the names and attributes of Allah. Because when you learn and understand and implement, it changes the way you think about your life. When you say, Ya Allah, Ya Razzaq, you are the one that is in charge of my rizq, then you won't be so worried about this interview or that job, or Ya Allah, Ya Rahman. Ya Allah, I made a mistake, but you are Ar-Rahman, Al-Ghafur. Ya Salam. When we look for peace in our lives, but we know that Allah is the one that brings peace. You're calling out to Allah through His names and attributes. And this understanding or knowledge of Allah is, you could say, the foundation of our deen. Foundation of kul ulum. And think of this as like a building. If you have a building with weak foundations, it's easy for that building to be swayed and to be crumbled. But if you have a building with strong foundations, even if the building is hit, it's easy to restore it. This is Asma wa Sifat, Asma'ullah. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. And Allah has the best of names, so call upon Him with them. This is an ayah of the Quran. Allah is telling us, call upon Allah through His names. وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ يُلْحِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ. And stay away from those who make ilhad. Maybe a topic for next time. Of the virtues of dua is closeness to Allah. Allah is close to the one who makes dua. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. When my slave asks of me, then I am near. And I respond to the caller whenever he calls. And as I said, this isn't an academic, this isn't something to think about, this is something to understand and to internalize in our own selves, that Allah is near. And there's plenty of evidence for this. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. He is closer to you than your own jugular vein. Now, if you, for example, if you see your friend 100 meters away and you call out his name, what's the mannerism of how you're going to call out someone far away? You're going to, Ya Abdullah, you're going to say, you're going to raise your voice, you're going to check if he hears you, you're not sure. Walakin, if the person is close to you, how would you speak to him? You can speak softly, you can speak loudly, it doesn't matter. If he's right next to you, it's a different way. You can even whisper. Now think that Allah is closer to us than our own selves. Technically, He's with us. So what is the manner of the way in which we can make dua? And this isn't just, not just physically, but also think emotionally. Allah knows you. Allah understands you. Maybe someone is close by, but he doesn't understand what's happening inside of you. And in this way, dua is not just, it doesn't have to be calling out to Allah. It could just be thinking. It just could be a dua of the heart. Dua doesn't need effort. It's something that we can implement all the time. Because Allah understands what's happening within us, our own selves. Of the virtues of dua is it changes the way you think, mind shift. And the Prophet Ayub alayhi salam, وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. When Ayub called out to his Rabb and he said, Ya Rabb, I have been afflicted, I'm in hardship. When someone is in hardship and someone's having trials and tests in their life, what do you think they would want from Allah? They would want to seek help. They would want to get a cure for their illness. But Ayub says, وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. He says, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. Meaning, he's saying that, Ya Allah, this difficulty, this trial, it came specifically from you. And who are you? You are the most merciful. So within this trial is rahmah. Within this trial is mercy. Within this trial is a hikmah that I don't understand. And if we think about in our own lives, when we have positive experiences and negative experiences, if I open the floor a bit, give me some examples of a positive emotion. What's a positive emotion? Tafadhal. Happiness. Anything else? Excitement. Okay, what about negative emotion? Anger? Envy? Sadness? Negative experiences? Sickness? Illness? Positive experience? Health? Wealth? The lesson here when it comes to dua is that we don't define positive experiences based on our limited understanding. Happiness could be positive, happiness could be negative. Illness could be positive, illness could be negative. What's the key factor that determines if something is a positive or a negative emotion or negative experience? A dua. Does this life event bring me back to Allah or does it take me away from Allah? That's the key factor. Anything that brings us back to Allah is a positive experience. And anything that takes us away from Allah is a negative experience. Be it, and this is the example of Ayub. Ayub alayhi salam, what did his illness do? It brought him closer to Allah. There's a dua in the Quran and Sunnah, there's a dua for many types of, you can say, negative emotions. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan wal-ajzi wal-kasal wal-jubni wal-bukhl. When Musa alayhi salam, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani, when he was having a tongue tie, he asked Allah for help. All of these seemingly things that we might think are negative, perhaps Allah gave them to us so that we can turn back to Him, so that we can make dua. And perhaps if He took it away from us, perhaps if He gave us an easy life, we'd forget Allah, and that would be a negative experience for us. So that's a way in which we reshape our own life experiences. A dua is not just, again, an academic exercise. It's to change the way that you think and the way that you progress through life. Of the benefits of dua is that dua is a cause of entering Jannah, and leaving off dua is a cause of entering the fire. And what is the key difference between the people of Jannah and the people of Jahannam? Ad-dua. The people of Jannah, they make dua, and the people of Jahannam, they left dua. How? Every human being makes mistakes, every human being falls into sins, every human being falls into ma'asiyah. كل بني آدم خطاء وخير الخطائين التوابون. Every single son of Adam is it's a compulsive mistakes and sins, and this is our nature. But the best of those people are the ones who make tawbah. Tawbah is the discrimination between Jannah and Jahannam. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِي سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. And your master said, call upon me, I'll respond to you. Those that are arrogant from my worship, they will enter the fire. Allah is saying that those that are arrogant, meaning worship itself, or dua is worship in this context. Call upon me. If you don't call upon me, you're not worshipping me. You've got too much kibr in your heart. Istikbar. You've got too much arrogance in your heart because you're not leaving your affairs to me. You're taking control yourself. You think that you are the master. Of the benefits of dua is that it grants the Muslims victory. This one's important for our times and for all of history. وَلَمَّا بَرَزُوا لِجَالُوتَ وَجُنُودِهِ قَالُوا رَبَّنَا أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا وَثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَنَا وَانصُرْنَا عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ فَهَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And when they faced Jalut and his army, they said, "O Allah, O our Rabb, send down upon us patience and keep our feet firm and grant us victory over the kafirin." فَهَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And they defeated them with Allah's help. And this is something we shouldn't neglect. Dua is a key factor for the victories, for the victory of the Ummah. We have to know that the Muslim has this weapon that others don't have. It's not just about helping in the material world. It's not just about the sadaqah. The dua, you don't know which of our dua will be accepted. When Allah accepts our dua, we take action. That's when the Ummah gains victory. It's a weapon for the weak and the oppressed. Dua is the only thing that can change qadr, that can change destiny. يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ وَعِنْدَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ. Allah removes and affirms from the destiny, and with him is the final or the preserved tablet, you can say. So with Allah is knowledge of everything. But under that is the qadr that's given to the angels to carry out. And these things can be repelled or changed through dua. Coming back to when we might feel hopeless, and we can think of this as a group as well, as a ummah. We think that we're weak or we don't have much power. Allah says, وَكَمْ مِنْ فِئَةٍ قَلِيلَةٍ غَلَبَتْ فِئَةً كَثِيرَةً بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. But how many small groups overcame large groups with Allah's support, with Allah's help? Victory has nothing to do with numbers and quantity. We have the numbers and quantity. Victory has to do with the connection with Allah. Is the ummah going to wake up? Is the ummah going to maintain their connection, maintain their tahajjud, their fajr in the masjid? Is the ummah going to be quality? Because when we do that, it doesn't matter about numbers. Then dua will overcome the enemies. Inshallah, these are just a few virtues of dua, the importance of dua. Just to recap, dua is a sign of our tawheed. It helps us come close to Allah. Allah is close to the one who makes dua. It changes the way that we think about our life experiences. A positive experience has to do with whether it helps us return to Allah, not whether it makes us feel good. And this is a key difference. Sometimes life won't treat us well. But that doesn't matter, because this dunya is meant to be trials and tests. What matters is it helping you come close to Allah and help you reach your optimal state. Dua is linked directly to our akhirah. When we leave off dua, we are running towards the fire. And when we make dua, we are running towards Jannah. And dua is the weapon of the weak and the oppressed, and it's the means of victory for the ummah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وإياكم.